The biggest 5 Imperium KvK has finally come to an end, and it was probably the most live-streamed KvK in Rise of Kingdoms history. But why? Was this being a 5 Imperium KvK the only reason? Of course not. There was a huge drama even before KvK has started, and for that we have to take a look at the only place that is more toxic than Lost Kingdom chat. Rise of Kingdoms Facebook group.
Spartans! What is your profession?
This was posted by 60GT Leopard. Some strongest kingdoms in ROK need excuses to ally 3 out of 5 Imperium in this map, and now want to choose first their preferred A kingdom. 365 picked 1534, 1175, 1093 picked 960, and 960 picked Thunder. However, we will still perform in this KvK as always. Enjoy Thunder if you need them for your recovery KvK. Well, after that, everybody knew what's coming. More drama. Allegedly, Save from 1365 says 1093 Nico, if you win, I want you to take the shop. This was posted by Aizawa. 1365 created an 8 camps diplomacy Discord group. Try to look for some fair match. Same time, created a private group between 1093, want 1093 to take Ziggurat, which is none of their business. Tried hard to break the momentum and relationship from inside of enemy ally. And he says what a sneaky, dishonest kingdom. No matter what the KvK result be, 1365 will never be considered as same level as 254. They don't use tricks to win KvK, they don't mind working with weaker allies, they fight till the last blood. And then this was posted by Vinny on behalf of Night King. I wasn't aware Diplo talks are over and the propaganda war has started on Facebook. So I want to clarify to my friend Leo how this went down, because he seems to have a short-term memory loss. Firstly, we gathered all the kingdoms like we usually do and try to brainstorm the best possible setups like we've been doing in the past 4 or 5 KvKs. Sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. And on this massive Facebook post, Night King basically explained 1365's point of view during the diplomacy talks. And he said they proposed around 8 different setups to brainstorm on them and figure out which one will be the most viable one, and 1960 only came up with a single proposal. And he also shared this Discord post as a proof. And just by looking at the number of comments, you could say everybody was loving this drama. And then Aizawa posted a number of VIP 18 players from each kingdom, compared them and said how to make this KvK balanced. Let's see, I can't wait. And of course he got a reply from 1365. Vinny posted number of special talented legendary equipment from each kingdom and ended the post by saying, what, it's the same bullshit numbers as that other guy posting about VIP 18 players. So I think the main reason why this was the most live streamed and also probably the most watched KvK in Rise of Kingdoms history was not 5 Imperium, it was the whole drama. Well, in the end, once KvK has started, these were the allies: 1365, 1175 and 1534 versus 1960 and 1093. A big shout out to all other kingdoms, by the way. I just cannot read every single kingdom number because then it will be boring. Let's move on. But the non-stop massive fights in each zone was even more interesting. In Zone 5, the only fight was in Villa Villa. 1534 was heavily favored as they were Imperiums versus 2 A seeds, and they didn't have a lot of trouble pushing them early to the pass in the zone. Water Camp built a layer of force to strategic choke points around the river, making it very hard for 1534 to push. They drained each other out, leading a stalemate around the forts that Water Camp built around the rivers. Overall, Wind and Water Camp both had territory in the zone, so stalemate between the two. But Zone 6 was crazy. The only fight was between 1960 versus 365 and Thunder Camp. 1534 free burned out of Villa Villa, allowing 1093 and Water to have the zone essentially without a fight. 1960 opted into building and fighting into Shiki, lasted around 5 days back forting. They managed to slow down 1365 push at around the Pass 5s, going into Kalcha by the time Pass 6 opened. 1 Pass 6 were being fought over, Sakaka to Villa Villa, and 2 Pass 5s going into Shiki. It was a stalemate from both sides, 1960 joined by 1093 and Daybreak Camp, 1365 joined by 1534 to hold bottom pass of Shiki, 1175 and 1534 between Sakaka and Villa Villa against 1093, even though 93 managed to burn forts, but overall it was a stalemate. And finally, every single camp was in the Kingsland. Each camp had access to 1 pass: 1093, Daybreak, Water, 1960 versus 1175, Thunder, 1365 and 1534. 1093 and 1960 managed to overwhelm 1175 and 1534 on the sides, and 1365 had access to both but could only choose to push either left or the right side. But whichever side they decided to focus and help, the other side will be able to free burn. And at the end, it was inevitable. They ended up losing too much territory, allowing for 1093 and 1960 side to take the W. Yes, we managed to win this KvK. If you guys didn't know, I'm from Kingdom 1093, so props to 1093, 1960, and all our allies. But I have to give credit where credit is due. 1365, they fought until they lost blood. I wanted to answer some questions in this video. Which kingdom performed best, who performed worst, etc. But since I'm from Kingdom 1093, my opinion might be biased, so I decided to ask the person who streamed the KvK more than 50 hours and provided us a lot of information for each zone and each fight for me to make this video. A huge shout out to my boy Pluto Gaming, and let's start with question number 1. I asked him which kingdom performed the best and why. His answer was, if I were to pick a kingdom that performed the best, my hot take would be that 1365 had the most overall contribution out of all other kingdoms within this KvK, because even though 1093 and 1960 also performed really well, the KvK would have not been even close without 1365 anchoring the other side. In terms of the worst performance, my criteria for this would be worst not meaning contributed the least, but rather failed to meet expectations the most. I think this is a great way to decide who performed the worst. I would say definitely 1534 failed to meet expectations as a corner kingdom, failing to push out water camp and free burning to 1960 most of the Kingsland. Then I asked him what were the main reasons that 1093 and 1960 managed to win this KvK. He said the main reason was they had each other to rely on, and their other two camps also did a great job supporting and holding their flag lines during Kingsland. If there is any moral to the story, is that there are levels to Imperiums. And since that side had two Super Imperiums versus the one 1365, they always had an advantage in Kingsland. The next question was super important in my opinion because he pretty much watched and streamed the whole KvK. I asked him what decided the winner. Was it field fights or rallies? He said field fighting and swarming structures decided the winners, because without field you cannot swarm, and without swarm at this level of KvK you cannot burn a structure. In these KvKs, people constantly non-stop reinforcing rallies and garrisons, and that's why if you are participating at this level of KvK without good swarmers, you cannot burn structures, and for you to be able to swarm the structure, you need to have the field advantage, you need to have the field control, and that's why Pluto said open field and swarming structures decided the winner. And as my last question, I asked him the most common rally and garrison pairs in this KvK. He said infantry, Tariq and Pakal, archer, Henry Nebu, cavalry, Attila and Nevsky. And there is one thing in common with all these three rallies, and it's that they are extremely hard and punishing against swarmers. The most common garrison throughout the KvK was Xeno YSS by a mile, because each side was filling structures with farm accounts. So Xeno and YSS allowed for Garrison to be filled with any troop type. I think this is super important because if you use very specific commanders such as Jadwiga who can only be filled with cavalry is a big downside, because farm accounts will have every single troop type, and since those farm accounts do not actually need those troops, they only need siege to farm, you want to reinforce those structures as much as you can with your farm accounts. So that's why Xeno YSS was the #1 garrison in this massive, the biggest, the most live streamed KvK in Rise of Kingdoms history. Hope you guys liked it, hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, a simple like and subscribe helps the channel a lot. And again, a big shout out to my boy Pluto for providing a lot of information and answering our questions for this video. I see you guys on the next one. Bye.